Hi, welcome back to Arduino Ninjas. In your first expedition into Arduinos, you built the circuit Blink. We're going to build a circuit today that's not a lot more complicated, but it's going to start to use things called variables and defines to make our code a little bit easier to work with. And as we go through this session, we'll start developing this thing called a function that allows us to reuse code over and over again. Remember, I said that programmers are generally lazy. If we can reuse code, we generally will. So for this one, we're going to first build the circuit in the software so you can see how it goes together, and then build it in on the breadboard in hardware. So you're going to need for this 2 LEDs and 2 resistors. Now these resistors are the red, black type, otherwise known as 220 ohms. You're of course going to need your Arduino and a breadboard, and you're going to need 3 wires. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a wire from ground. We've got 2 ground pins here, and we've got a ground pin up there. Doesn't matter which one we use, I'm just going to take one from here. And I'm going to take a ground wire and I'm going to pull it all the way down to this negative rail down the bottom here. And you'll see it's lit up all these green dots along here, because remember, these outer rails are all wired horizontally. I'm going to make that a black wire just so it's easier to see. Generally speaking, black is for negative. We're then going to take our LEDs. Now our LEDs have 2 plates inside them. There's a big plate, big is negative, and the small plate, which is the positive. And I'm going to put them across the canyon, across the gap. So I'm going to put the red one into column 5. So I'm going to plug it into 5F, it's positive, and I'll put its negative into 5E. And I'll put the green one, just so we've got some clearance here, in 15. You could put it in 10, but it's going to be masked on my picture. 15F, and it's negative into 15E. Now we want to connect these negatives to this negative ground rail, and we'll use the resistors to do that. So I'm going to put my resistor, one of my resistors, doesn't matter which one, into 15B, and the other end somewhere into this ground rail. And I'm going to do the same for column 5, so 5B, and again put the rail somewhere into the bottom. So now I have a circuit that goes down here from this column up here, through the LED, through the resistor, along the negative rail, and back to ground. So now all we need to do is connect the 2 LEDs to pins on the board. So I'm going to take a wire from 5J and plug that into pin 11. And I'm going to make that a red wire. And I'm going to take another one from 15J and put that into pin 10. And I'm going to make that a blue wire. So now if the Arduino sends output 10 high, power will come down this wire, through the LED, through the resistor, and back through the black wire to ground. It can't go through the other LED because there's no complete circuit. And likewise, if I turn on pin 11, it'll come down the red wire, through the LED, through the resistor, and back to ground. So if we now look at our actual breadboard, let's build it on the breadboard. That same circuit on the breadboard. Again, remember, I have mine arranged on this board so we can make things easy to see. I've got my 2 resistors, my 2 LEDs, and my 3 wires. So I'm going to take my black wire first, same as we did before, and I'm going to connect it to my ground rail, and I'm going to connect this into one of the ground pins. I'm now going to take my resistors, bending the wires, and push them firmly into the ground rail, and then somewhere into the lower half of column 5, aiming for 5B. And I'll do the same over here for column 15, into the ground rail, into column 15. Now we get our LEDs, and if I can get it to focus, you can see there's a large plate in there and a small plate. The large plate is negative, so we put that across the gap as well in the middle. Sometimes they can feel a bit sticky to get them to go in, and if that's the case, just press a little bit harder. And we'll put the other LED across the bridge on column 5. And then the last thing to do is to connect them up. So somewhat of column 15 to pin 10. Somewhat of column 5 to pin 11. And as you can see, my green LEDs started flashing because I've not cleared the previous program. The Arduino remembers how it was programmed and just carries on from where it's left off. If yours starts flashing as well, cool, don't worry about it. If it doesn't start flashing, also at this point, don't worry about it. So that's it for the circuit. It's a very simple circuit. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the Arduino IDE and program it. And we'll see how we go from there. So I'll see you in the next section where we talk about how to code this.